Hello YouTube, this is Dr. Ronald W. Satz, founder and chair of the International Society of Unified Science and president of TransPower Corporation, a commercial and custom software manufacturing and certified systems engineering company. I work as a systems and mechanical engineer and as a theoretical physicist. As I do every week with my screencasts, we'll talk about the reciprocal system and how it compares to conventional theories in theoretical physics. What I'm doing with this whole series is making available my WordPress blog posts on YouTube and annotating them as we go along. We have one topic today. This is very interesting. This is on the density gradient and white dwarf stars. This is a big puzzle to conventional theories. I don't understand why the density is inverse with white dwarfs and pulsars and quasars. Let's take a look at this article from Science Daily. Again, this is a good website for daily research news. It says here, contaminated white dwarf. Scientists solve riddle of celestial archaeology. Now, when they say contaminated, they mean that there are metal elements, for example, in the atmospheres of these white dwarfs. But they're not really pollutants. Anyway, it says here, a decades-old space mystery has been solved, it says, by an international team of astronomers. The team put forward a new theory for how collapsed stars become polluted that points to the ominous fate that awaits planet Earth. Scientists investigated hot young white dwarfs, the super-dense remains of sun-like stars that ran out of fuel and collapsed to about the size of the Earth. Well, let me just point out as an aside that this collapse theory is nonsense. Just because a star would run out of fuel doesn't mean it's going to collapse. I mean, that's just so dumb. It's just going to be a solid. It's going to be dense, but it's not going to be a collapsed star. Anyway, that's the bizarre mythology. Let's scroll down here a little bit and see what it says. It says here, it has been known that many hot white dwarfs' atmospheres, essentially of pure hydrogen or pure helium, and incidentally, it's usually helium on top, are contaminated by other elements like carbon, silicon, and iron. What was not known, however, was the origin of these elements, known in astronomical terms as metals. It was believed that this material was, quote, levitated by the intense radiation from deeper layers in the stars, said Professor Barstow. Well, that's nonsense, obviously. Well, this is just crap. We found that in stars with polluted atmospheres, the ratio of silicon to carbon matched that seen in rocky material much higher than found in stars with interstellar gas. Yeah, well, so they're saying that this implies that a similar proportion of stars like our Sun, as well as stars that are a little more massive, like Vega and Fomalhaut, build systems containing terrestrial planets. So, in the explosion, they absorb the planet, the remains of the planets, into their atmosphere. Well, that's garbage. So anyway, and it concludes the ultimate fate of Earth billions of years from now ending up as merely contamination within the white dwarf remnant of our sun. It's nonsense. It's total nonsense. When the sun goes supernova, actually in 5 billion years, it's going to create another red giant and white dwarf. The planets will probably be destroyed, of course. Anyway, let's go back. Now, I'm going to quote from my theoretical physics mentor, Dewey B. Larson. He wrote this amazing astrophysical work called The Universe of Motion. So, I say conventional theorists are puzzled by the inverse density gradients in white dwarf stars, but not for those of us who work with the reciprocal system of theory. So here's Dewey B. Larson's comment, page 178. Quote, the phenomenon that we are now considering, the existence of helium atmospheres in certain classes of white dwarf stars, is a more limited example of the same kind of anticipation of the observational discoveries. Here the explanation was provided before the need for it was recognized. The essential feature of this explanation is the inverse density gradient. The existence of this inverse gradient is not an ad hoc assumption that has been formulated to fit the observations in the manner of so many of the so-called, quote, explanations offered by conventional theory. It is something that is definitely required by the basic postulates of the theory of the universe of motion. reciprocal system, and was so recognized and set forth in the published works long before the existence of the helium atmospheres was reported by the observers, and the need for an explanation of the seeming anomaly became evident. 1959 publication stated specifically that, quote, the center of a white dwarf star is the region of lowest density. Again, this was back in 1959. Larson continues. Once the existence of the inverse density gradient was recognized, the presence of helium atmospheres in the older white dwarf stars could have been deduced independently of any observations if the investigations had been extended into more detail. This was not feasible as a part of the original project because of the limited amount of time that could be allocated to astronomical studies and investigation covering the fundamentals of all major branches of physical science. The answer to the problem of the helium concentration was, however, available for immediate use as soon as the problem was specifically recognized. In the pages that follow, this experience will be repeated time and time again. We will encounter a long succession of recent discoveries, some of a minor character, like the helium atmospheres, others that have a major significance to astronomy, and we will find simple and logical explanations of these discoveries ready and waiting in the physical principles that were previously derived from the postulates of the theory of the universe of motion. So obviously the presence of metals in the atmosphere rather than in the core of white dwarfs is obvious. I say obvious twice there, but it's very obvious. Inverse density gradient. Amazing. The reciprocal system triumphs again. So study the reciprocal system and prove it for yourself. The simplest possible treatment is my work, The Unmysterious Universe. It's available from Amazon and from transpirecorp.com. The most comprehensive treatise is my work. It's a software ebook called Existence and Interactions, a computational treatise of the reciprocal system, the true theory of everything. This contains thousands and thousands of equations, so it'll keep you guys busy for years. And if you want to use the reciprocal system in your scientific or engineering practice, I have two database modules. The reciprocal system microcosmos database for material properties, liquid, solid, gas, vapor, and it also includes subatoms and compounds, photons, everything. And I have the reciprocal system macrocosmos database, which covers all the astronomical phenomena. Hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for your attention.